The teachings of Rabbi Rav Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Moshe Rabbeinu and his stepmother, is there a problem of Yichud?
Oh, yes.
Well, what do I mean by that? The Torah says that Vahilo Leben, Batya Bat Paro adopted him as a son. She took him for a son. In Divrei Hayamim, she's called Batya. Batya. The Bat Paro in Divrei Hayamim, Moshe's stepmom is called Batya in Divrei Hayamim. Why is she called Batya? So the Medrash says something amazing. In our parsha we read yesterday, it says Vahilo Lebein. She took him for a son. She took Moshe for a son. So God told her, you took Moshe for a son, I'm going to take you to be my daughter. And therefore she's called Batya, the daughter of God.
That's amazing.
This pagan princess defied her father and adopted Moshe as a son, as we read yesterday. So since she took him for a ben, God said, you took Moses for your son, I'm going to take you for my daughter, and therefore she's called Batya, the daughter of God. If you take a look at your source sheets, source number 5. So she took him for a son. So the question is, what about Yichud? What about Yichud? We know that the laws of Yichud are very strict. You can be alone with your wife, your daughter, your granddaughter, your sister, but you can't be alone with a stranger, the opposite sex. So when you adopt a child, it could be a problem. What could be the problem? If the child turns 12 or 13, can the father be in the same room and kiss and hug what? No. His adopted daughter? And when the son turns 13, can the mother, the adopting mother, be in the same room with her stepson? And can she hug and kiss him? Right? That's a question. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, and most other poskim said that therefore a person should not adopt a child, because once the child turns 12 or 13, then there's a problem to be alone with that child of the opposite sex and the problem to kiss and hug him. That is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's opinion. But Rav Soloveitchik disagrees.
So this is good.
Rav Soloveitchik disagrees, and Rav Soloveitchik told his Talmidim that the parent-child relationship, even though it's not biological, you adopt a small child, the functional parent-child relationship is enough to eliminate all the problems of Yichud and Negiah. What does Negiah mean? Physical contact between the opposite sex. Despite the absence of any biological relationship between the adoptive parent and child. So Rav Soloveitchik disagrees with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and Rav Moshe just told me that Tzitz Lezer agrees with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Well, no, with the Rav Soloveitchik. With Rav Soloveitchik, that the functional parent-child relationship is enough to eliminate all the problems of Yichud and of Negiah, physical contact, between a step-parent and a stepchild, despite the absence of any biological relationship between the adoptive parents and the child. So Lubavitcher Rebbe discouraged his followers from adopting because there's a problem of Yichud. But Rav Soloveitchik told over that when the Rebbe felt that his followers needed to adopt because it would threaten their shalom bayis, if they wouldn't have an adoptive child, they couldn't have a regular child, then Rav Soloveitchik said the Lubavitcher Rebbe would send them to me, to Rav Soloveitchik, to give them a heter. And I'll quote what the Rebbe said. Rav Soloveitchik said to Samidim, listen to this, when the Lubavitcher Rebbe felt there's a couple in his community whom the Rebbe himself believes ought to adopt children because it interferes with their shalom bayis, then Rav Soloveitchik said, then the Lubavitcher Rebbe sends them to me to give the halachic okay to adopt children without being concerned about the problem of Yichud. This is what the Talmud in Eruvin means, page 13. Beit Shammai said this, Beit Hillel said that. What did God say? Elu v'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and those are both the words of the living God. So Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal was able to use the position. He personally rejected this psak, yet to serve the emotional needs of his beloved followers, the Rebbe sent, when he felt that a couple should adopt, because with threatened their shalom bayis, he would send them to the Rav Sprecher. He said, Rav Sprecher will give you the heter to adopt. This is the greatness of the man. So anyway, you see the greatness of halacha, that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, when he felt that a couple should adopt, against his own ruling, he would say, listen, you have to go to Rav Sprecher to get the heter, because the functional parent-child relationship gets rid of any problem of Yichud, despite the absence of a biological relationship between the adoptive parents. So Rav Sprecher had breite places. How do you say that in English? He had wide shoulders. And thanks to Rav Moshe, he tells me that the Tzitz Eliezer agrees with Rav Sprecher. Wow. But let's take a look at our source sheets over here. Source number 5. The parsha that we read yesterday. Source number 5. Shmos Perik Bet. Vayelech ish mebeit Levi. A mysterious man went from the house of Levi. Vayikach et bat Levi, and he married the daughter of Levi. Vatara Isha, and the woman became pregnant. Vatelet ben. Very strange. The book is called Shemot. The parsha is called Shemot, which means what? Names. And here, it's no names. Source number 5, the parsha we read yesterday. Who's this mysterious man? Who's this mysterious daughter of Levi? And who is this woman? Why don't you mention names? If the parsha is called Shemot, and the book is called Shemot, then isn't it strange that these main players are anonymous? Unnamed. What is the message for us? What is the message? Well, one message is, Moshe Rabbeinu, the miracle worker, spent 40 days and 40 nights in heaven. Didn't eat, didn't drink, performed the greatest miracles. Three separate times of 40 days. Very good, Chanoch. So the Torah points out that he had a normal man and a normal woman to be his parents. There is no immaculate conception. Despite spending 40 days and 40 nights, 3 separate times on the mountain, in heaven, no eating and no drinking, speaking to God face to face, doing all the wondrous miracles, the Torah says clearly in source number 5, he was an offspring of a regular man and a regular woman. No immaculate conception. A normal person with normal parents. That's one explanation. One explanation. Or why they're not named. Moshe, his parents are ordinary people. Even though he was what? Such a superstar, but he was a product of a miraculous birth. Another explanation, in source number 5, why his parents are not mentioned. Why they're not mentioned? The Torah wants to point out, a man and a woman gave birth to a child. Became Moshe Rabbeinu. Any Jewish man and any Jewish woman can have a Moshe Rabbeinu. You don't have to have great yichus. I think that's a powerful message, Chabad. Look at source 5. A regular man went from Beis Levi. He married a regular daughter from Bas Levi. Even if you have no yichus, any Jewish man and any Jewish woman can have a Moshe Rabbeinu. Afila b'li yuchus. I think that's another reason why their names are not mentioned. Why their names are not mentioned. But you see, one word is being repeated over and over again. In source number 5, Pasuk Aleph, it says Bat Levi, the daughter of Levi. Okay? Look at Pasuk Hey in source number 5. Vateret Bat Paroi. Again, you have the daughter. Right? Look at Pasuk Zayin in source number 5. Vatom Rachoto El Bat Paroi. Again, the daughter of Paroi. In Pasuk Chet in source number 5, Vatom Ela Bat Paro. In Pasuk Tet, Vatom Ela Bat Paro. Over and over again, you have the word what? Bat, daughter, 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 over and over again. What's the message? What's the message? The message is, who builds the Jewish house? It's the Jewish daughter, not the Jewish son. So over and over again, here the Jewish people are going to have a savior, a redeemer. So over and over again, it has the word bat, bat, bat. That the builder of a Jewish home, the secret of Jewish survival, doesn't depend on the ben, but it depends on what? The bat. That's the secret of Jewish survival. Therefore the word neshama, the word shechina, the word Torah, the word mitzvah, the word emunah is all what? Nekeva. Because the Jewish soul and the Jewish survival depends only on the mama, the mama. That's pretty amazing, huh? You see this throughout Jewish history, that the anonymous heroes, the wonder women of the Exodus, the Egyptian heroines of the Exodus were all women. And we'll see they weren't even all Jewish. Let's look at source number 7. Source number 7, Rashi, that we read yesterday, Shifra and Pua, the two midwives. So Rashi in source number 7 says, who was Shifra? Zu Yocheved. She was the Yocheved, the mother of Moshe. Why is she called Shifra? Hashem Shemishparas as Avlad, she would beautify the child. She would beautify the child. Pua, who is Pua? Zu Miriam. Hashem Shepua Medaberes Lavlad. She would poo poo, poo poo. When the baby was crying, she would kuchi kuchi poo poo. And therefore she's called what? Pua. You understand that? But I don't understand that. Didn't they save the lives of these babies? Chava, why not call them Hatzalah and Teshua? They saved the lives of these babies. Isn't saving a life more important than Kuchi Shmuchi? So why call her Kuchi Shmuchi? Call her Hatzalah.
Kuchi Shmutz is pretty important.
Call it Teshua. Isn't salvation and rescue more important than playing with the baby and pacifying the baby and combing the baby's hair? What's more important? So why call them Shifra and Pua? Call them Hatzalah and Teshua. You hear my question? What's Rashi's? It's a good question, Moshe, no? What's Rashi's point? So Rav Pam Zatzal said something amazing. He says, the greatness of a person is measured in the small, extraordinary acts of chesed. That's how you measure a person. It's not in the super-duper, razzle-dazzle, big-ticket items. The greatness of a person is in the small, extraordinary kinds of chesed. Shifra and Pua, they said, listen, I saved the baby. Ain't that enough? I'll go home. I saved the baby's life and I'm giving the baby food. Didn't I do enough? They went out of the way to kuchi shmuchi the baby, to play with the baby. They didn't have to do that. That's the extra mile. So the Torah calls them Shifra and Pua, not Hatzalah and Teshua. Yes, they rescued the babies from death. Take a bow and go home. But they had the extra sensitivity and the presence of mind to take the extra time to beautify and pacify the babies that they saved. This is their true greatness. And therefore they're named after the what? Shifra and Pua, to beautify and pacify the baby, the beautifier and the pacifier, and they're not called Hatzalah and Teshua. Because that's how you measure the true greatness of a person. The small acts of chesed, the one that's not so what? Publicized. Now, so according to Rashi, Shifra and Pua were Yocheved and Miriam. But it's not so simple. If you look at source number 9, Klei Yakar argues with Rashi in source number 9. The king of Egypt said to the midwives who take care of the Hebrew women, Yesh Omrim Shemayaldos Hoya. The next word, Chava. Mitzrayos. That these midwives were pagan Egyptians, and they took care of the Hebrew women. What's his right? They took care of they were Mitzrayos midwives who were appointed to look after the Hebrew women. But Shifra and Puah were Mitzrayos, Egyptian midwives. Dim loikein my rebusa to come tirenam yadus. Because if they were Jewish, why does it say that they feared God? A Jew always fears God. What the chidush is, that even though they were Egyptian, they also feared God. Even though they weren't Hebrews, and they feared God anyway. So according to the Klei Yakar, these were Egyptian midwives who risked their lives to save Jewish children. And look at source number 10. The Malbim agrees. You see number 10, Yehuda? Number 10. The Malbim agrees. Al Shemos Perik Aleph. Vayom Melech Mitzrayim. Kipi Apshat. According to the simple explanation. Amar Lemitzrayos. These midwives were Egyptian. Shahoya Miyaldos Ivrosh. They helped the Jewish women give birth, but they themselves were what? Mitzrayot. And they risked their lives to save Jewish children. Flash forward to 75 years ago.
Yeah.
Raoul Wallenberg.
Yeah.
What a hero. Didn't he fear God? I think he took a page, Moshe, from Shifra and Puah. He risked his life many times to save my mother, my uncles, and 100,000 other Jews. So I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Wallenberg, because if it wasn't for him, as God's shliach, I would not be here. Isn't that amazing? Shifra and Puah and Wallenberg, the unsung heroes, non-Jews who risked their lives over and over again to save Jewish people. That's pretty incredible. But getting back to Moshe Rabbeinu, let's go to source number 5, Pasuk Vav. Vatiftach, source number 5 of Vatiftach, she opened up the box, Vatareyot Hayelet, and she saw the baby, Vihine Nar Bocheh, and a boy was crying. Vatachmal Olav, and she had Rachmanis on him, Vatoime Miyaldei Oivrim Zeh. He is of the Hebrew children. How did she know that? She saw that he was circumcised. But Rashi wonders, first you call him Yeled, and then you call him Nar. What's going on, and why should I care in the year 2020? Chava, we're in the warring 20s now.
Yeah,
Not the roaring 20s, we're in the warring 20s. Warring 20s. So Rashi wonders, first he's called Yeled, and then the Torah calls him Nar. So Rashi said, Koiloi Kanar. He was a little baby, but he had leather lungs. He could really scream. Well, thank you very much, Moshe. I need to know that 3,300 years ago you had leather lungs. You could scream like a nar. What's Rashi's point? Look at the end of the verse. Again, we're at source 5, Pasuk Vav. Is that proper Hebrew? Yehuda, can you ask your Ulpan teacher on Tuesday? Because you would say in Hebrew, Yeled or Ivri zeh. Any Ulpan teacher knows, Yehuda, source 5, Pasuk Vav, the end of the verse should say, Vatoime Yeled Ivri zeh. This is a Jewish baby. Why miyaldei ha'ivrim? Why in the plural? He's only one baby.
But he's from all the children of the Hebrews.
So, but normally you would say Yeled Ivri zeh. Ask any Ulpan teacher.
But why not?
What's miyaldei ha'ivrim? This answers Nar. So the Mefarshim say, why did God choose Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu felt the pain of another Jew. Even at that tender age, he cried like a nar for all the Jewish babies that can't cry anymore. So therefore it says, Miyaldei Oivrim, not Yeled. He's crying for all the Jewish babies that can't cry anymore because they're never kaput. So God gave him the coil of a nar. He's screaming not just for his own pain, for all the Yaldei Olivrim, never for all the Jewish babies that can't cry anymore. So even at that tender age, he felt the pain of another Jew, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose him. And therefore God appeared in a thorn bush, not in a cherry tree or an apple tree. Rashi says a thorn bush that cuts and pricks. Imo Yanoichi B'tzara. God says, I feel the pain of every Jew that suffers. Their pain, says God, is my pain. And Moshe Rabbeinu was also like that. He felt the pain of every Jew, and therefore God chose him. But getting back to Moshe Rabbeinu, don't you think Moshe Rabbeinu had an identity crisis? He was the son of two mothers. Torah says that he lola ben. He had an adoptive mother, Batya, and he had a biological mother, Yocheved. He grew up as the prince of Egypt. Why couldn't he grow up with the other Jews in the slime pits? Why did he have to grow up as the prince of Egypt in the palace for? So Ibn Ezra has beautiful explanations. Number one, if he grew up in the slime pits with the other Jews, and he says, hey, I'm your redeemer. God spoke to me. You're the kid with the runny nose that was always underfoot there in the slime pits. Get lost. No, he had to grow up where? In the palace. Now we have derech eretz for him. It's more than that. Moshe Rabbeinu, where did he learn leadership qualities, courage, determination, heroism, wit? Can you learn that in the slime pits? No, you got to be a prince of Egypt.
So you learned
And you got to go to Cairo University and pick up all of the knowledge of the day, what it means to be a prince, what it means to be a leader, what it means to have courage. Now he can use those qualities, Moshe, to what? To redeem Am Yisrael. He had to take a course in leadership. And that he only can do as what? As the prince of Egypt. Not in the slime pits. He had to acquire an education to be a leader. And he also had to figure out how Egyptian politics works. Look how God has everything under control. He grew up in the palace. He knew all the intrigues, how the Egyptian pharaoh and his court played. So he knew how to talk.
Exactly.
How to talk to Pharaoh. He knew how to push Pharaoh's buttons to make it work, because he grew up and he understood the intrigue of Egyptian royalty. Isn't that amazing how God has everything under control?
Baruch Hashem.
So the prince of Egypt, and then he becomes a fugitive. What happened? He killed a Mitzri, he becomes a fugitive, he had to run to Midian. Why? Now Moshe Rabbeinu felt very close to Paro. After all, Paro was his adoptive grandpa.
Exactly.
Right? Who bought him his first bicycle? I think it must have been Grandpa Paroi.
Exactly.
Who bought him his first playpen?
They didn't have bicycles.
How do you know? How do you know? It must be Grandpa Paroi. Who bought him his first what? I don't know, romper room. Chariot must have been, little tricycle must have been Grandpa Paroi. He felt a strong loyalty and affection to Paroi. So that had to be what? That had to be what? Broken. Now you can't go home anymore. He did an act where he killed the Egyptian taskmaster. Now all of his affection and loyalty to Paro is what? Severed. See how God is maneuvering him. What's the word? Manipulating him or maneuvering him
Unbelievable.
to become the Manig Yisrael, to be the Redeemer and the Lawgiver. But he had to flee to become the fugitive. In this way, he has no longer any affection and loyalty to what? To Grandpa Paroi. And now Hashem can use him for his purposes. So all the twists and turns that we go through in life, like Moshe Rabbeinu, we can't figure out what's happening to us. It's all part of God's plan that we're being, what's the word? I don't want maneuvered. For his purpose, guided, maneuvered, I would say manipulated. Because he has a plan for each and every one of us. What, Chava?
Chess pieces.
Yes, we're chess pieces. We're moving independently. You're playing with the grandmaster. You're moving independently. No one forced you to move that rook or to move that knight or the pawn. But somehow the grandmaster, when you play chess living with a grandmaster, you're moving independently, but he controls the game.
Amazing.
He controls the board. All of us are being maneuvered. Yes, we act independently, but the big maneuver, what's it called? The grandmaster
Amazing.
is maneuvering us because each and every one of us has a tafkid. And no one can do it my way. So all the twists and the turns that we take, and all the disappointments and all the detours, it's all part of the divine plan. There's a divine planner up there. That's what we learned from Holy Moses. You think he could figure what's going on with me? I'm a slave. I'm a prince of Egypt. I'm a fugitive. What's happening to me? It's even more mysterious. In this week, Pasha we had yesterday, he's called Ishmitzri. He's called an Egyptian man. In Deuteronomy 32, he's called Isholehim. He's called a godly man. Hello, who am I? Am I an Egyptian man or am I a godly man? My Rebbe Rapam said, all of us have to answer that question. All of us. It's not just Holy Moses, otherwise it wouldn't be in the Torah, Yehuda. Torah is not history. The Torah is GPS for every God's personal system. All of us have to decide. Sometimes we act as Isha Elohim, sometimes we act godly, and sometimes Nebuch, Rahman al-Islam, sometimes we act like an Ishmitzri. It's the constant struggle between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Exactly.
It's the constant struggle. And you can't win them all. But it's the very struggle itself that makes us Yisrael. The Maral says, when did the Malach and God called us Yisrael? When we fought with the Malach. Which Malach did we fight with? Who was the Malach? The Yetzer Hara. So the Maral says the very struggle with the Yetzer Hara. When the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. No, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. The very struggle with the Yetzer Hara. Even if you don't win them all. The very struggle makes us Yisrael, which means Sar El. We are called the Prince of God because we struggle with the Yetzer Hara. And when we lose, we feel bad about it. Guilt is good.
Absolutely.
When you feel bad about it,
Jewish guilt.
Jewish guilt, right?
Humanly cricket.
Deserve Jewish guilt, yes.
Then
So anyway, getting back to Moshe Rabbeinu over here. So Moshe Rabbeinu has a very checkered past, wouldn't you say that? Very checkered. Prince of Egypt, fugitive. Why couldn't God choose Aaron? Aaron was FFB, right?
it said,
Wasn't Aaron FFB?
no, but it said,
Moshe's a BT, isn't it? No?
what we read yesterday.
You think the Prince of Egypt, you think he kept kosher? When he was in the Egyptian palace, Zisel, you think he ate kosher? I don't think so. Grandpa Paro gave him a kosher diet? I don't think so.
He killed someone.
He killed someone. So well, why did God not choose Aaron? Hashem was arguing with Moshe Rabbeinu for a whole week, Rashi says, please take the job. He didn't want to take the job because he felt that Aaron would be slighted and upset. Only when God said, V'samach belibo, your brother will be happy in his heart, he will not resent you, only then did Moshe Rabbeinu agree to take the job. But Aaron was not offered the job, Bill, I'm sorry, no. Moshe Rabbeinu was offered the job, but Moshe refused to be the lawgiver and the redeemer until God assured him that his older brother will not be upset and jealous. So let's think about it. God was making him an offer he can't refuse. Redeemer and lawgiver, a nice pension on both. But Rashi said he kept on refusing because he thought his older brother would be what? Hurt, upset, and jealous. Only when God said the samach belibo, what does that mean? He will not resent you. He won't be jealous. Adarabba. He will be happy for you. Only when he heard that did he say to God, where do I sign? Double pension. Redeemer and lawgiver. So look what's going on over here. Moshe Rabbeinu was willing to give up the role, 2 roles of a lifetime. Redeemer and lawgiver. If it meant hurting his brother, he said, God, I don't want it. If my leadership is going to cause anguish, resentment, and jealousy to my older brother, I don't want the job. That's how he felt for his brother. Only when God assured him that he won't be upset, only then did he accept it. What?
Aaron gets the priest and lifetime wardrobe.
Oh, so therefore Rashi said, therefore Aaron was zoicha to be the high priest, to wear the breastplate where? Over his heart. Since he didn't have a hungry heart, didn't have a jealous heart, it's only natural. If your younger brother outshines you, the older brother feels resentful and envious. Look at Yaakov's kids. But he was the exception. Since his heart was not envious and resentful, so therefore Rashi quotes Chazal, he was chosen to wear the breastplate over his heart. What? He was an exception, because normally an older brother, sibling rivalry, right?
But it's the older brother's right. And that was probably more of a source of any jealousy or whatever resentment that Aaron would have had, but he didn't have against Moshe.
Right, which normally he would have had.
Would have deserved to
But
have.
think of it more, Chava. 40 years Moshe was on the land. Remember the fugitive? Before David Jansen. 40 years he was a fugitive, Chazal say. He was in Midian running to Ethiopia. Who was the leader of the Jewish people at the time when Amram died? Aaron. Aaron's with them in the slime pits, talking to them, counseling them.
Yeah.
After 40 years, who comes back? Moshe. Hey, older bro, get out of the way. I'm taking over. How do you think Aaron should have felt? Hey, who are you? You weren't here 40 years suffering with the people. Where were you? Out to lunch for 40 years in Midian somewhere? I was with them. I felt their pain. And I was with them. Now you want to come and take over? And yet Aaron stepped aside. That's his greatness, why he became the big kahuna. He stepped aside. Moshe, yes, God says you should take it. I'll take it.
Are we going to have another shiur on this? Because weren't the Levites exempt from slavery?
But yes, but they were still slaves. No, you see, good thing you came today. Good thing you came today. You ever see Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have seen that movie, I wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There were slaves that were working out in the fields,
Right.
and there were slaves in the kitchen,
In the house.
as butlers. Now, which would you rather be? The regular Jews, they were out schwitzing in the slime pits in the fields. The Levites, they were the butlers, the nannies. Butterfly McQueen.
Yeah.
I think she won an Oscar for that. Yeah. So that's it. The slaves, and then there are slaves, and then there are slaves. But anyway, getting back to our parsha, all of the heroes of the Exodus were all what? Women. We're all women. And the Zohar calls them the Iron Ladies of the Exodus, or the Wonder Women of the Exodus. Wonder Woman? Wonder Woman. Every Jewish woman in Mitzrayim was a Wonder Woman. And the Zohar calls them Nishei Barzel. Not Margaret Thatcher. The Iron Ladies. You ladies are the Iron Ladies. And that's also Yaakov's wives. The acronym is Barzel. Barzel. The Bet stands for Bilhah. Bilhah. The Resh stands for Rachel. The Zion stands for Zilpah. And the Lamed for Leah. Yaakov's wives were the Iron Lady. They built the Jewish people. The Iron Ladies, they built the Jewish people. So we speak about the 4 mothers. Right, Moshe? The mamas, the 4 mothers. I don't understand. What about Bilhah and Zilpah? What am I, chopped liver? Weren't they the mothers of Israel? Without them, there are no 4 tribes, Moshe. And if one is missing, all 11 don't count. So why do we neglect Bilhah and Zilpah? They contribute to how many tribes? 4. Without them, there's no Jewish people. How come they're out of the loop? This is a kasha that you should think about. Yehuda's a message over here. We speak about the 4 mothers. Daniel, there should be 6 mothers. What does your wife chop liver? Bilhah.
But there's a hierarchy.
So
right?
why are they not counted as the matriarchs of Israel?
Because there's a hierarchy.
What does that mean? Talk to me in English. What does it mean?
There's a higher and a lower.
What does that mean? They're called Nishei Yaakov. The Zohar calls them Nishei Yaakov. That Bilhah and Zilpah were the same wives like Rachel and Leah. The same wives like Rachel and Leah. So why are they not counted? There should be 6 mothers of Israel. You hear the question on the table? What? Without Bilhah and Zilpah.
Right, but Rachel and Leah were 2.
And Sarah and Rivka, Rachel and Leah. Why do we
Yes, so
count
6.
4?
Okay.
We should count what? 6.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the answer is as follows. To be a patriarch or a matriarch, it's much more than just a biological thing. Matriarchs and patriarchs give us their DNA, but the DNA, which means divine natural ability, all of the matriarchs and patriarchs went through terrible trials and tribulations. Every single one of them were tested and tried, whether barrenness, being kidnapped by Paroi, being kidnapped by whom? By Avimelech, barrenness, terrible trials and tribulations, the mamas and the papas. Why did God put them through that? To inculcate into them, and they're able to pass on to us, to get through the hard times, to make it through pogroms, expulsions, Holocausts, and we're still here. Not only are we here, we're thriving more than ever. Despite all the tribulations and all the trials and persecutions, we're here stronger than ever. But that comes from the DNA of what? The papas and the mamas. Every one of them, check the text, Chanoch, went through terrible trials, tribulations, and suffering. So it became part of their DNA, inculcated, and they're able to pass it on to what? To us. Bilhah and Zilpah had very easy lives. Wow. No trials, no tribulations. Gleich, how do you say in English, gleich? Everything went smooth. So even though they're the biological mothers of Israel, but they're not the spiritual mothers because they can't contribute the tribulations and the tzores because they never went through the trials, tribulations, and tzores. So they couldn't give it over to us, and therefore they're not counted among the spiritual mothers of Israel, even though they are the biological mothers of Israel. They didn't go through the hard times, so they couldn't give it over to us. And therefore they're not, who was Jewish then? Who was Jewish? Rachel and Leah were Jewish, they're Syrians. Who was Jewish, right? And Sarah was an Iraqi, and Abraham was an Iraqi. Who was Jewish? There was no such thing as Jews until Har Sinai, Hanoch. We forget that. How could Yaakov marry 2 sisters? How could Amram marry his aunt Yocheved? This week's parasha says that Amram married his aunt Yocheved. Marrying an aunt in Jewish law is what? Incest. The answer is Amram and Yocheved were not Jewish. They weren't Jewish. What? In Jewish law, if someone marries his aunt, it's Gilead Ayot, it's incest, and the child is a mamzer. It's a good thing Moshe Rabbeinu was born before Matan Torah, because otherwise, bad news, right?
They kept the whole Torah, I don't understand.
On a voluntary basis, keep the 7, go to heaven. That they had to keep.
So they chose...
They chose, the 7 they had to keep. And Bris Milah. The rest they kept on an optional basis when they felt like it, but they were not obligated, otherwise Amram couldn't marry his aunt, and Moshe and Yaakov couldn't marry what? 2 sisters. In Jewish law, to marry 2 sisters is a cardinal sin. One of the 3 sins to die for. Do you know that? Did you know that, Chava? Someone forces you to eat chazer or to b'mchal Yom Kippur. On pain of death, you have to desecrate. If someone forces you to marry 2 sisters, or to marry your aunt, it's Yaharog Vayavor. You have to let yourself be killed rather than transgress. But the Torah wasn't given. The question that I have, Moshe, let's say Amram or Yocheved was still alive at Matan Torah. Would Amram have to divorce Yocheved? You hear my question? Think of it. Amram, Yocheved, but they were already dead when Torah was given. Let's say they were still alive. Would Amram have to divorce Yocheved? Now, you're what? You're an erva to me.
Well, because
How do you know? I don't know.
there'll be new people because when you convert, everybody converted.
Oh, so Yehuda had to hit a home run. Yehuda says, Gesh and Idgaya kekotan shanoila dummy. Ooh, Yehuda hit a home run. You know what he said? He said, the Gemara in Yevamos tells us that if you convert to Judaism like a newborn baby, so Min HaTorah, if a ger and his mother convert, pretty bizarre, they can marry each other.
Imale.
Now the rabbis say don't try this at home because it doesn't look nice. But look in Tractate Yevamot. Min HaTorah, if a ger and his mother convert, they can marry each other because she's no longer his mother and he's no longer what?
Her son.
They're newborn babies.
Oh my God.
But the rabbis say don't do that, it's not nice. The rabbis are more religious than what? Than God. Pretty amazing, right? But where was I? So Yehuda is saying a big chidush that Amram and Yocheved after Matan Torah are no longer what? Aunt and
Son and nephew.
nephew.
So they can.
So they could stay married. But didn't they practice Rabbinic Judaism also? What? No, they didn't?
No, 7 Noahide laws.
No, but after Matan Torah. After Matan Torah. So the rabbi said, hey, don't do that. Not nice. So that's the question we have to ask after Tchiyas HaMesim, if Amram and Yocheved, after Matan. They weren't alive already by then, but if they were, I think there would be a dilemma. Maybe an embarrassing dilemma? What do you think? Well, stay tuned. But anyway, getting back to our topic over here. So all of the heroines of the Exodus were women, starting with little Miriam, right? Amram divorced Yocheved, right? And little Miriam said, Abba, your decree is worse than Paroi. That's how you talk to your father. Little Miriam said to her father, who was the chief rabbi of Cairo, Abba, your decree is worse than Paroi, because Paroi only decreed on what?
The boy.
Boys. By separating from mommy, you are preventing baby girls from getting married. He says, you know, you're right. He could have said, go back to your milk and cookies. You're telling me. Right? Go back to your coloring book. But no, he listened to her. He remarried Yocheved, and who was born? Moshe. If it wasn't for what? Miriam, there'd be no redeemer, no lawgiver. Little Miriam. And then when he's born, who babysits for him by the bushes there?
Miriam.
Another. Who saves his life? Bas Paro. Bas Paro, another lady. And then when he's in the Malon, Motel 6, and the Malach wants to kill him for not circumcising the baby, who saves his life? Zipporah. By circumcising the baby. So all of his life, Moshe Rabbeinu is saved by what?
Women.
By women.
All men are saved.
Behind every great man, Bilhah, behind every great man is a greater woman.
That's right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
By the way, the halacha learns that a lady can be a circumciser. We learn from, don't try this at home, but the Gemara in Avodah Zarah learns that since Zipporah circumcised the baby, that b'di'evet, how do you say b'di'evet? After the fact, a woman can be a circumciser, even though it's not done. It's not done. The same thing with a shochet. Mitzad halacha, a lady can be a shochet. But it's not done because she might get queasy. Right?
Why did she have to circumcise the baby?
What? Moshe was incapacitated.
But it was after, before the Torah, right?
Yeah, but they had bris milah. Remember, it's 7 plus 8. Avram Avinu was told that all of his kids must be circumcised. So they had 7 plus 1.
In Egypt, they did.
Egypt, they neglected it. Only Shevet Levi kept it. In Egypt, they neglected bris milah. They were obligated, from Avram Avinu's time, they were obligated to do brit milah. But according to Maimonides, all Ishmaelites have the mitzvah bris milah, because they're also called Abraham's seed. pretty amazing. And the Zohar says something amazing. Why did the Arabs have such a strong attachment to the land of Israel? It's because of Bris Milah. The Zohar said because Yishmael and the Arabs practiced Bris Milah, for that pain and going through, therefore they have the strong attachment to the land of Israel. It's not for nothing that they live here through the schus of Bris Milah. But the Zohar says when Mashiach comes, that schus will be what? Gone. I think it's called overdraft. It'll be used up. But until then, they have a right to live here because they do practice Bris Milah. They do. In fact, Rav Schultz, Zechet Tzaddik Avracha, one of our rabbis in the Asper Yeshiva, Zechet Tzaddik Avracha, he learned to be a moyel. Where did he learn? He used to go to Arab villages. Today he wouldn't do that. He used to go to Arab villages, circumcising their kids. That's how he practiced. Rav Schultz, Zechet Tzaddik Avracha, he told me more than once that he became a moyel. He used to go to Arab villages and circumcise their kids for nothing. That's how he became practice. That's how he became a moyel. So anyway, where were we? So the Gemara in Saita says that the Exodus happened only because of Noshim Tzidkaniyos, the righteous Jewish women. And the Zohar says just like the first redemption happened only because of the righteous women, so the final redemption, which we are now very close to, will also happen not for the kollel guys and not for the chief rabbis, but also because of what? Noshim Tzidkaniyot. Because the Zohar says that the Exodus from Egypt is the roadmap to the final redemption. If you want to know how the final redemption is going to play out, look at the Exodus from Egypt. It wasn't gleich. There are many pitfalls, backwards and forwards and backwards. That's how the final redemption will be. We're on the road to redemption, all miracles, Nebuch, terrible setbacks, expulsion from Gush Katif, Nebuch, Jewish people made homeless in their own land. That's all part of the plan. How do we know, Chava? The Zohar said we have the roadmap. What's the roadmap? The redemption from Egypt. There are many pitfalls, many detours, but we got there. So the final redemption will follow the exact long and winding road of the first redemption, and also only because of what? The Enoshim Tzidkaniyot. And therefore, Zechariah says Mashiach will come kiroichev ala chamor, riding a donkey. Now, I don't understand Moshe. Why won't he take a Volvo? What does Zechariah say Mashiach will come on a donkey? Look in Zechariah. Roichev ala chamor. Maybe a Cadillac, a Lexus. But why a chamor? So, prophets speak in metaphor. Maybe see the USA and the Chevrolet. What's wrong with a Volvo? What's wrong with a Volvo, Chanoch? A chamor? So we know one thing, that all prophets speak in metaphors. The only prophet that did not speak in metaphor was Holy Moses.
Moshe.
The Rambam said that's one difference and many others between Moses and the other prophets. All the other prophets besides Moses speak in metaphor. This is a metaphor. What it means is as follows. And I have first-hand experience because I teach on the Asper Yeshiva Mount Zion. And there we see many chamorim. There's one thing about a chamor. You see he will go forward a couple of steps, stop, then he'll go backwards. He'll go forward, stop, and go backwards. Check it out, you'll see. So what Zechariah means, the final redemption of Mashiach, doesn't mean a chamor literally. It'll be like a chamor, just like a chamor goes forward and backwards, but eventually what? He gets there, he takes 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But eventually he gets there. So the final redemption will be like the chamor Zechariah means. It'll be many setbacks, but eventually we're going to get there. Don't despair, hang in there. So that's what Zechariah means. We'll probably take a Lexus. But the process will follow the chamor. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So all of the setbacks that we have with the peace now and breaking the silence and all the disappointments, it's all part of the final roadmap. And they can't get a government together. It's amazing. Rav Kaduri predicted years ago that before Mashiach comes, there'll be 2 Binyamins trying to become prime minister, and they both will be stuck.
Isn't that amazing?
Years ago, he predicted this. The 2 Benjamin Gans and Benjamin Netanyahu, and they say already now, March 2nd will be the same thing as the others. They already say it's going to be, it's part of the plan, because next stop, Mashiach. So it has to play out like this for people become what? Disgusted with the political system, with the monotony of it. And this way, when Mashiach comes, they'll say, Yofi, thank you for coming. You saved us. It's all part of the plan. The master, grand master, all part of the plan. But people will say, you were disgusted with these politicians. Mashiach, we want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. It's all part of the plan.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.